Episode 775. The fourth branch of tyrannical ambition greeted Invincible the Most Handsome with a full 100-man dungeon team. They directly added Woody Zui Junlang and opened a high-difficulty 100-man raid to get a look at this guy's skills. But now that he looked, this guy's gear was way too far off from what a 100-man raid required. Taking advantage of the fact that Invincible Handsome hadn't joined the group yet, everyone quickly whispered among themselves, discussing the matter. Then, as Invincible Handsome strolled up to them, he spoke.
Quite the crowd here. You guys planning a welcome party? You're too kind. Actually, I haven't officially joined yet. Could we push the welcome ceremony back 5 days?
The crowd was left speechless. This guy, strutting around in that gear like he owns the place, his name really suits him.
These are the brothers heading out to raid tonight, 99 in total. What do you think? Interested in joining?
The speaker was the leader of this 100-man group, named Shi Ji Yang, a cleric by class. He was one of the core members of Tyrannical Ambition's fourth branch. He was the one who invited Invincible Handsome to join. The fourth branch didn't send their president personally either. Their reasoning was the same as Zhang Yu's. They didn't want to end up inviting a fraud. On that basis, the guild leader's instructions to Joy Sheep were clear. Once he was brought in, test his strength immediately. So Shi Ji Yang simply took advantage of the 100-man raid to bring Wu Di Zhu Junlang along. But looking at his gear now, from a player's perspective, he was definitely not qualified for a 100-man raid. The team channel was buzzing with discussion about it.
100-man raid. Couldn't ask for better. Which dungeon are we hitting?
Yi Shu asked.
Our group is heading down into the Sky Tomb.
Joyful Sheep said.
Aerial Tomb? Sounds vaguely familiar. Let me check the guide.
Yi Shu said. A 100-player dungeon is undoubtedly the largest scale dungeon in Glory right now, and its difficulty is naturally higher than that of smaller dungeons. Even among 100-player dungeons, there are differences in difficulty. Take the Sky Tomb, for instance, the dungeon Shi Ji Yang's group was heading to. Compared to other level 70 100-player dungeons, its difficulty ranked squarely in the middle. It wasn't the hardest dungeon, but Shi Ji Yang's group had yet to clear it. They were still in the middle of studying and figuring it out. The 100-player dungeon didn't drop much gear, and there was a limit on runs. Unlike the smaller dungeons you could clear 3 times a day, each player in a 100-man raid could only enter once a week. Among them, most teams couldn't even guarantee a clear, because in the dungeon, the Tomb Master can't revive you. You only get 1 life. In a 100-man dungeon, every death is permanent. Lose enough people, and you simply won't have the numbers to finish it. However, the rewards for a 100-player dungeon weren't like other dungeons that only gave rewards upon completion. Instead, the 100-player dungeon would assess the player's progress and give a percentage rating. Even if the entire team was wiped out and couldn't clear it, they could still receive certain rewards based on that percentage. So many recruitment ads for teams would boast about their dungeon progress percentage. With just that one line, as long as you weren't a complete newbie to Heavenly Domain, you'd have a pretty solid grasp of the team's strength. Take the team led by Shi Ji Yang, for instance. Their highest progress in the Sky Tomb had reached 88%. That statistic alone would let them stand proudly above over 90% of the players in the Heavenly Domain. So while they were still just studying a medium difficulty 100-player dungeon, Shi Ji Yang's team had already proven themselves to be quite remarkable. As for a guild of Mi Tian's caliber, forming a full 100-man raid was still just the first step in tackling a level 70 100-man dungeon. As for wild players without a guild, forming a pickup group to tackle a 100-man dungeon was basically like buying a lottery ticket. You just cleared whatever you could and called it a win. A wild group clearing a 100-man dungeon, that had happened before, when a bunch of level 70s grouped up to take on a level 60 dungeon. So when a team like Joy Sheep, one that already had plenty of reason to be proud, heard that someone actually wanted to check a guide after just hearing the dungeon's name, they instantly erupted.
Look up a guide. What does he think this is, a 5-man noob dungeon?
Someone in the team channel immediately voiced their indignation. If a 100-player dungeon could be cleared just by reading a guide, it wouldn't be this hard. Running a 100-man dungeon is a skill. You can't just read a guide and expect to get it. You have to practice. These guys had pushed the SkyTomb record to a peak of 88%, but that came after 9 whole weeks of grinding. It was only as their gear improved through repeated dungeon runs that they finally achieved that 88% completion rate. Now this guy just casually says, "Check the guide," which makes it sound like he's dismissing this 100-man dungeon. It's honestly grating to hear.
He's never even cleared a 100-man dungeon, has he? How good could a tank like that really be?
Someone raising this objection, it wasn't entirely unfounded, was it? Thinking a 100-player dungeon is something you can just read a guide and clear, in the eyes of any average player, that's the mark of a clueless rookie who's never set foot in one. Shi Ji-young was a bit annoyed too, but even though he led a regiment in the 4th branch of tyrannical dominance, he wasn't a core member like a guild leader. The whole thing went from Mi Tianzun reporting to Zhang Yu, then Zhang Yu passing it down to the 4th branch's guild leader, who then assigned it to Shi Ji-yang. The convoluted origins of Wudi Zhu Junlang had long since been glossed over. Shi Ji-yang didn't know any of the finer details. He'd simply taken the guild leader's casual instruction and treated it like a quick errand to run. After hearing Wudi Zui Shuai Jun's take on the guide, he immediately thought this guy had no idea how high the sky was. Someone from the Annihilator Guild, they can't be that strong. Shi Ji-young thought as much, but since the guild leader had given the order, he couldn't just walk away, so he had no choice but to wait patiently for this person to read the guide. Meanwhile, he watched the channel chatter as everyone discussed how they'd laugh at this guy later, but Joy Sheep made no move to stop them. Just think about it. A 100-player dungeon guide takes a good long while to read through if you're paying attention. Shi Ji-yang decided they should hold a quick pre-dungeon strategy meeting, basically summarizing the issues that had come up in past dungeons and the key points to emphasize. Before they could get far into it, Wudi Zhu Yunlang's voice drifted over.
All right, I've seen enough. When do we start?
Shi Ji-yang glanced at his watch. 10 minutes had passed. He was furious all over again. The 100-player dungeon was a mess of complications. First, the dungeon itself was brutally hard. Second, with a raid of 100 players, the player base was just as chaotic. The end result? No single strategy guide was ever considered definitive, because they were all written by different raid teams. So naturally, plenty of people just mashed those guides together, making the whole thing even more convoluted. No matter how you look at it, watching for 10 minutes means you probably haven't even reached the first boss yet,